So in this one, I want to show you how you can resize a box, because that's what sets it apart from dies. When you buy dies to make a box, you've got one size. You might have a couple of different patterns and a couple of different options, but more often than not, it's one size. Whereas on something like a ScanNCut, you can have them in lots of different sizes. So I'm going to show you both ways on an SDX, even though you can do. So on an SDX, you have a percentage resize, and on a CM, you don't. But I'm going to show you both ways on the SDX, because it's the same process as whether I do it on here or I do it on a CM. So let's do the percentage one first, so the one that is specific to an SDX. So I'm going to retrieve data from my USB again, and this time I'm going to go for the takeaway box. So let's find out where the takeaway box is first of all. And it's number 29 down here. There will be an index that you can look at on your computer or download as a PDF and print it off, and it will show you a picture of what each box is. So what we're going to do is go to the box, and we'll start with the base of the box, and we'll press OK. Then we'll add, and we'll go back in to our USB and our takeaway box. And we'll add in the mat layers, because we're going to have to resize those as well. So we'll add the base and the side. So from this one, first of all, we want to move this one out of the way, because that's what we had before. Then we want the middle option of this, which is that one, the middle size of this. And if you're not sure what the sizes are, if you go to Edit and Object Edit and into your resize, that one is the smallest one at 38mm high. That one's 42, and that one's 56. And it's quite obvious when you look at the screen which size is which, I think. But if you're stuck and you're struggling, that's how you do it. But it's much easier than going add, this, pressing all these buttons, next, add. It's easier to delete them, quicker to delete them than it is to add them. So I'm going to bring that one down there, and I'm just selecting the panels that I want, and I'm putting them in a pile down here. And then going to select one of the ones that I don't want and press OK. And then I'm going to multiple select part of the mat, drag over the pieces that we want to keep, press OK, and put those in the bin. Now the way that I would do it personally is, now I've got those bits, I've still got another layer to go, but what I would do is press OK and arrange them in a straight line. And then I would go in and do a little bit more work on them. So to do that, you can either do it individually. So you can go into that piece and go into Edit and go into Object Edit and go into your resize button, and there's a percentage button here, and you could increase that by 25%. Then you would go to the next one and increase that by 25%. Next one, 25%. Next one, 25%. However, and it doesn't have to be 25%, it can be whatever percentage you want it to be, as long as it sits within the parameters of the mat. However, the easiest way to do it is to get them all in a pile. So you can either drag them across like this, so they're all on top of each other, and group them together. So we're going to multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to Object Edit and group them. Then you can go to your resize button, go to your percentage setting and increase that. And I did it by 25%, which is why I said that number. Then you can press OK, ungroup it. You must tap the screen to release the shapes, and then you can put them into your straight line, and you can then start to duplicate them. And the reason that I do it that way in a pile is, if I do it with them all laid out like this, and I go to Edit and I multiple select everything on the mat, press OK and group it together, I've only got this much capacity to make it bigger, because they're all in a line. So as soon as I hit the edge of that mat, it will stop. So doing them in a pile gives you many, many, many more sizes and many, many, many more options, so that you can then resize it like that. To do it on a CM machine is slightly different. So because there isn't a percentage increase, a percentage resize on a CM, you would have to do it the old-fashioned way. And that sounds really bad, because it sounds like the CM is dated, and it's really not. There is not, I've worked out, and I might be wrong here, but as far as I'm concerned with the things that I've done, there is nothing that I can't do with a CM machine and Canvas workspace together that I can do on an SDX. So even if you've got the absolutely base, the beginner machine, you know, you're absolutely good to go. So please don't think that you have to upgrade. Of course, if you want to, and if you like the idea of the auto blade and the percentage resize, fine, but you don't have to. And that's my point. I don't want you to think, oh, I spent all that money on a CM and now it's, you know, it's no good anymore. It absolutely is. It's just a little bit more of a process. So if we do the same thing again and we go to retrieve data and we go to the USB, imagine now that this is your CM machine. We're going to go down to the takeaway box and we're going to bring the box part on first. So we're going to add the base and we're going to press OK and we're going to move it over here and start our pile. Then we're going to add, we're going to go back into retrieve data and into our USB and we're going to scroll down again. Remember, once you've done this once, you don't need to do it again. We're going to go to our takeaway box and our box again and we're going to do the front and back. So remember, it's going to bring these pieces on now, so I can now do that one and that one. And I'm going to move those over here. Then I'm going to add, and I'm going to go back into my USB, and I'm going to scroll down again, go to the takeaway box, go to the box again, and do the side pieces. So now I need two of those sides, so I'm going to rotate it so it takes up less space within the pile. So object edit, you will have to move it away from the edge of your screen on a CM machine and rotate it 90 degrees. And I need two of those, so I'm going to ask it to do two now. Now what you're going to have to do is go in and add all the matte layers and the pattern panel layers on top. So if we go OK and we add, and we go back into our USB and we scroll down to our takeaway box, our next bit is our matte layers. So remember, we want the base and the sides. So we want to press OK and we want the middle one from that one and the middle one from that one and the middle one from that one. And then we highlight one of those and we get rid of all the rest. So we go to edit, multiple select, part of the matte, drag across it, press OK and put all the rest of it in the bin. Okay, now you could duplicate those now if you wanted to, but actually resize it first and then you can duplicate from there. So then we're going to press OK and we're going to add, we're going to go back into the USB, and this is one of the functions of the SDX that does make it easier, the percentage button, because you don't have to do this, you can just resize by percentage with each layer that you bring on at a time, whereas with the CM you need to bring everything on at once. So we go to our takeaway box again, we go to the pattern panels, we do the base and the side, so we press OK, we move all these over here, the whole lot like this, then we add and we go back in. So there is a little bit of more work to do, it's a little bit more long-winded, but you get there and it's doable. That's the most important thing. We're not saying now because you've got a CM machine you can't do it, because you absolutely can. So again, I'm going to rotate that one and I'm going to rotate it because it's taller than it is wider. So when I rotate that, it's going to take up less space, which gives me more scope to resize it. It allows me to do more different sizes. And then these two can just come over the top like that. So now what we're going to do is group all that together. So we're going to multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to object edit and group it together. And then from here, you can resize it. So we can make it bigger or we can make it smaller, depending on what you want. Now, when you've done that, you've got a lot of files on there now. So if we press OK and we ungroup it and we tap the screen to release the shapes, there's several things that you can do. So you can start by cutting the larger pieces. So I would bring that one up there and maybe that one next to it, because this is going to be out of the same colour of card. and then I would do that one like that, and then I could bring, let me think if I can bring any more on there without doing what I'm doing. No. So what I'm going to do now is get the machine to cut these out. So instead of saving the whole file like we used to do, I'm bringing everything back on a bit at a time and deleting off what we didn't need. We've got another way of doing it now. So if we press OK and we go into our settings and we change the cut area and we drag up over the shapes that we're not cutting, the ones that are still in the pile, when I come back onto my screen, these three will still cut, but it will ignore those. So just to show you what I mean, when I press OK and I get to please select and cut, it's going to tell me that some of the patterns are outside the effective area, but it also says OK to continue. So when we press OK, it will just cut those for us. So then when we're finished, we can go back and we can take our cut area back to where it was before, and we can save the whole file. Then we can delete these off. So we can go to edit and bin, and edit and bin, and get rid of those bits. And then we can bring our next lot on. So we can continue with that one. Then we can bring some of our patterns in. So you would keep your patterns in one place. So you can start to separate them out like this now, and you can start to lay it out. And that's quicker than deleting everything off and then going back in and bringing it on and deciding which bits to delete. So you can lay all your pieces out. So for example, that piece there, and then we can cut these out and we can put these up here, because we can eliminate sections at a time by using that change of cut area. It makes it much easier to do it. So now if I just want these bits, I can press OK. I can go into my cut area again and drag up like that. And then I've got, it'll just cut those. And then when I've done that bit and it's cut those, I can then take the cut area back down, but move this bit down, and then it will just cut the pattern parts without cutting the other pieces. So it's a much quicker process than saving everything, bringing it on, deleting off the bits we don't want and just cutting the pattern panels, then redoing it again, just cutting the mat layers, then redoing it again and just cutting the box. So there is a way of doing it on both of the ScanNCut series, whether it's the SDX or whether it's the CM. So please don't think as a CM user that you're being left behind, because that absolutely is not going to happen while I'm around doing this machine. So that's how you resize one of your boxes on your ScanNCut.